You ever think your neighbor is just nosy until you realize they're actually trying to destroy your life? That's exactly what happened to my family last year, and I still can't believe how far it went. We'd lived in the same neighborhood for years, and for the most part, it was quiet. Everyone knew each other, waved when driving by, borrowed sugar if needed. The only exception was Mrs. Henderson. She lived right next door, and from the moment we moved in, she made it clear she didn't like us. At first, I thought it was just her personality, grumpy, old-fashioned, the type to yell if your trash can was an inch over the property line, but things escalated. It started small. She'd complain about our dog barking, even though he barely made a sound. She called the city when our grass got too long, even though it was shorter than hers. Annoying, but whatever. We figured she was just bitter and tried to ignore it. Then weird stuff started happening. Packages we were expecting would go missing from the porch. Trash from her yard would mysteriously end up in ours. Once we came home to find scratches all down the side of my dad's car. We couldn't prove it was her, but the timing was always suspicious. The breaking point came when my little brother's school called my parents in for a meeting. Apparently, someone had reported that he was being neglected at home. The school said they'd received anonymous calls describing how he was always hungry and looked unwashed. My mom was horrified my brother was well taken care of, always clean, always had lunch packed, but the school had to take it seriously. Suddenly, we were facing social workers asking invasive questions in our living room. That's when we realized it had to be Mrs. Henderson. Who else watched us so closely? Who else had a reason to make those lies up? We tried to confront her, but she slammed the door in our faces. The next week, things got even worse. Police showed up one evening responding to a noise complaint. Another time, animal control came, saying someone had reported our dog being abused. Every time, it was the same claims that made no sense, but still forced us to defend ourselves. It felt like we were living under siege. My dad finally decided to fight back. He installed security cameras all around the house front porch, driveway, backyard. For a few weeks, nothing happened. Then one morning, we checked the footage and saw it plain as day. Mrs. Henderson sneaking across the yard at night, dumping her garbage into our bins, taking our packages, even scratching at our car with her keys. We turned everything over to the police. At first, they seemed skeptical. It's not a crime to be an annoying neighbor. But once they saw the footage of her stealing mail and vandalizing property, things changed. She was charged with harassment and theft. The fallout was ugly. She screamed at us from her yard whenever we walked outside, called us liars, said we were ruining her life. But the truth was finally out. The neighborhood, which used to avoid choosing sides, suddenly rallied around us. Turns out, we weren't her first victim. She'd been harassing other families too, but no one had ever caught her. She ended up moving away a few months later. The day the moving truck pulled out, the whole street practically celebrated. For the first time in years, we felt like we could breathe again. And that's when I realized sometimes the biggest threats to your family aren't strangers in the world, they're the people living right next door.